So here we are. It's early morning, March 29th. It's a Monday at Bellagio. I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss something that one of my favorite vloggers, Matt Bridger, kind of discussed in one of his vlogs, one of his strip walks. I want to say it was dated in 2019 at some point. But he told a story about coming to Vegas by himself for the first time. And that was shortly after him and his ex-wife had a falling out. He talked about how he wasn't sure if Vegas would ever be the same and if he should even come by himself, and it was pretty inspiring. And listening to him talk about his experience, like, really kind of struck a chord in me, and I kind of wanted to elaborate and tell you what my thoughts are on coming to Vegas by yourself. So personally, I've come here 2 or 3 times. I don't really remember solo. Now, the first 2 times I definitely remember, and that's kind of what I'm going to tell you about. So the first time I came to Vegas, and this was, I want to say it was August of 2018. Good morning. I actually had a trip that was planned with my former boss / good friend of mine, and I had already booked my flights, booked my hotels, and it was supposed to be him and I and then some other friends of ours. But slowly, as the trip approached, people started backing out, and it was 2 weeks before the trip that he also backed out as well, for business reasons or whatever the reasons were. It doesn't really matter, but at the end of the day, he couldn't make it. So it was 2 weeks before. I was super stoked to be here because honestly, this is one of my favorite places on earth. And he told me, he said, "Hey, you can still go if you want. I'm not going to make you cancel your PTO." So I made the decision to come by myself, and I really didn't know what to expect, because for me, Vegas was a certain way, and it was a certain atmosphere, I guess, when you're here with your friends, and the vibe's just a lot different. So I came on the trip anyway, and I stayed actually right there at Planet Hollywood. And that was my first time, and actually my only time I've ever stayed there. But anyway, so I didn't really know what to expect. So I get to Vegas, I spend 3 days here by myself, and I've got to tell you, that was the worst trip I have ever taken. And for whatever reason, I could not hit a jackpot on the slot machines for the life of me. I felt like the casino was eating my lunch, and just the vibe in general just wasn't there. It was just a terrible trip because I think I went into it expecting the same old Vegas because that's what I was used to. I'd never been here by myself. I'd never really traveled anywhere by myself, to be honest with you. So I was alone, and when I say alone, I mean I didn't know anybody within 1,000 miles of this town. So it was quite disappointing. The entire trip was just terrible. So fast forward a few months, and I've decided it was time to come back. So this was April of 2019, or about a month before I made the decision I was going to come. And, I invited friends and said, "Hey, anybody wants to go, let's go." But I wasn't opposed to coming by myself because I had done it before. So I booked a trip in April, and I came. And that time, I knew exactly what to expect. I knew, because I had experience in it, I knew what Vegas was going to be like. And that trip in April of 2019, to this day, stands as one of my best trips that I've ever taken to Las Vegas. I was completely solo. And the difference is that I went into it knowing what to expect. I didn't come on that trip thinking that it was going to be just like every other trip. I knew that this was going to be by myself, and I had fully planned to do all the things that I wanted to do on my own, for my own, and not think about what everybody else would be wanting to do on that trip. And what I mean by that is, I actually proposed to my wife right there almost a year ago. Sorry, fiance. So I made plans and I did the things that I wanted to do. So normally when you come to Vegas and you're with a group of people, you know, everybody wants to do their own thing, or everybody has different things that they enjoy. But by and large, nobody really collectively gets together on the same thing. Nobody wants to do the exact same thing. So you end up doing all sorts of things that maybe don't appeal to you directly, but it's appeasing somebody. So with that trip, I did things that I never would have done if I was with a group of people. I went to see a magic show because I'm fascinated by magic, and anybody that I had ever traveled with prior would never have done something like that. I took a tour down to not the Grand Canyon, Hoover Dam. I went and did that. I went and toured the Titanic artifact exhibit because I love history, and I went and ate $100 steak at Gordon Ramsay's, you know. I did all these things that I wanted to do, and I didn't have to worry about anybody else and what they wanted to do, and that's what made me happy. Oh, and just as a sidebar, I guess maybe it was the vibe or the mentality, because I believe that luck is really based on how you're feeling. If you're feeling good, you're gonna be lucky. But for whatever reason, I couldn't lose on those slot machines. I was hitting left and right. I hit at Cosmo, I hit at MGM Grand, I hit at New York, I hit at Luxor, I hit at Mandalay Bay. I just, for whatever reason, that trip, I couldn't lose. So, but here's why I think it makes a difference, and here's why I think that traveling alone is crucial to anybody. So I think that as human beings, as we grow up and in our lives, we end up taking on a role that may not be exactly who we are deep down in real life, you know? And what I mean by that is, you know, you get older and eventually you end up turning into maybe a father, or you're somebody's husband, or, you know, your job title, whatever it is. You have all these roles that you fill that may not be exactly who you are or what you want to be doing in life. And not that that's bad either, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're supposed to do as humans. But I feel like traveling by yourself, especially to a place like Las Vegas, that gives so many opportunities to come back to yourself, you need that break, you need that release, you know what I mean? Like when I came in April of 19 and I was alone, while I was here, I was not anybody's husband or girlfriend, or boyfriend, or what have you. I mean, ironically at the time I wasn't, but for the sake of the point, I wasn't a hotel engineer. I wasn't so many different things. And in that moment, I could be exactly who I wanted to be, and I was. And because of that, that was the best time I've ever had. Not just here, I mean, really anywhere. So the question of should you travel to Las Vegas by yourself, solo, I would say that's a resounding yes. I recommend it to anybody. And I guess I could go with traveling anywhere by yourself. You know, it's good to get out and rely completely on yourself, and you kind of prove something to yourself. And it's quite a release. So with that, I'm going to leave y'all as the moon starts to go down and the sun starts to come up over Bellagio. Thanks for listening, and hopefully you'll listen to what I'm saying and you'll be inspired to take your own trip by yourself as well. We'll speak to you guys soon. I got a plane to catch here in a little bit. Take it easy.